Good evening, students. So today in this video we are going to discuss the concept of Pulsus paradoxus. Now what exactly is Pulsus paradoxus? In Pulsus paradoxus, during inspiration you get low volume pulse and during expiration you get high volume pulse. Now the main purpose of this video is to understand the mechanism behind Pulsus paradoxus, right? For understanding any mechanism, you need to run an animation inside your mind. You need to visualize how exactly this thing happens, right? Now, why exactly you get low volume pulse during inspiration, right? For that, you need to visualize. Suppose I am inspiring. Now the chest wall is expanding, right? Simple physics, if you expand something, right, the pressure inside that thing reduces, right? You expand anything, the pressure inside that thing reduces. Now the pressure inside my thoracic cavity has reduced, but the pressure inside my head and neck and abdomen is normal, right? Now everything flows from high pressure to low pressure. Now pressure inside my head and neck and abdomen is normal, but the pressure inside the thoracic cavity has reduced, right? Now so now more blood will flow from my head and neck and abdomen. More blood will flow from head and neck and abdomen via superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. Into which ventricle of the heart? Into right atrium, right? Now, if all this blood flows into right atrium, from right atrium it will flow into the right ventricle. Now, just look at this. Superior vena cava and inferior vena cava both are filling into right atrium, right? And from right atrium they are going to fill into the right ventricle, right? Once the right ventricle gets filled, it is going to push the adjoining structure. It's a diastolic stage, right? So when left ventricle is flaccid, right, left ventricle is not contracting, so the right ventricle gets filled, right, and it pushes on the left ventricle. Now left ventricle is also getting filled, but this time right ventricle has received some extra blood, right? Since the right ventricle has received some extra blood, it is going to push on the left ventricle. It will get improperly filled. Now Frank-Starling law, right? If something gets improperly filled, right, then it will undergo improper contraction. What is Frank-Starling law? If something gets properly filled, if you expand something more, then you will have forceful contraction. But when reverse is also true, if something gets improperly filled, then you are going to have weak contraction. And that's why you will have in small volume pulse during inspiration, right? There is one more mechanism responsible for this phenomena, that is, we have got a lot of pulmonary vessels over here, right? Pulmonary vessels. Now, these pulmonary vessels supply blood into the left atria, right? So when the chest wall expands, these pulmonary vessels also expand. When chest wall expands, these pulmonary vessels also expand, which leads to pooling of blood inside these pulmonary vessels. Pooling of blood inside pulmonary vessels. So the left atrium will receive less blood and even left ventricle is going to receive less blood. So this will magnify it. Right ventricle has received more blood and the left ventricle has received less blood. So this leads to the phenomenon of pulse volume, less pulse volume during inspiration. The reverse happens during expiration when the pulse volume increases. This line which I have drawn represents your heart rate. Your heart rate follows just the reverse pattern. That means pulse volume will fall during inspiration, but heart rate will increase during inspiration. Pulse volume will increase during expiration, but the heart rate will reduce during expiration. Why this happens? Because your vagal tone varies during inspiration and expiration, right? Now, during your inspiration, right, the vagal tone is going to vary according to the stage of inspiration and expiration. So vagal tone will increase during expiration and vagal tone will decrease during inspiration, right? Now many students have got this confusion that why exactly, right? In some books it is written that pulsus paradoxus is seen in constructive pericarditis if it is a physiological phenomenon. Now pulsus paradoxus is completely physiological and it is found even in normal individuals, right? But it is exaggerated. This effect gets exaggerated in certain conditions, right? Now suppose you get fibrosis all around this, pericardial fibrosis, right? Or if this gets surrounded by a lot of fluid, what are we going to call that? Cardiac tamponade, right? But if in that condition, right, when it is surrounded either by fibrosis or by extra fluid, right, what we are going to see? That this heart has got now even less space to expand. Now if this right ventricle gets filled with extra blood, it can't expand in this direction now. It can't expand outside. So the whole force of expansion will be on the left ventricle. Since the whole force of expansion is on left ventricle, the left ventricle will expand even less. So even less forceful contraction, right? So in pulsus paradoxus, the pulse will be even smaller during inspiration. In some severe cases, during inspiration the pulse can't be even detected, right? So the pulsus paradoxus is completely physiological. It is found in all individuals, right? But it gets exaggerated, right? In pericardial fibrosis, in cardiac tamponade, right? Because the heart has got much less limited space, right? So just in case the right ventricle gets filled, it can't expand outside. The whole force of expansion goes up to the left ventricle, and since it gets expanded improperly, it's going to contract improperly and the pulse volume will be reduced, right? So next time if someone asks from you what is pulsus paradoxus, right, why pulsus paradoxus happens, right, you'll simply say during inspiration the chest wall expand, so extra blood rushes from superior vena cava and inferior vena cava into right atrium, extra blood into the right ventricle. Since the right ventricle expands during diastole, the left ventricle expands improperly because of limited space, Frank-Starling law, less expansion, so improper contraction, and pulse volume will be less during the inspiration and more during the expiration, right? So hopefully this video has helped you in understanding the mechanism of pulsus paradoxus. Wish you all the very best. Thank you.